Well, we know relationships can be a tough thing to navigate regardless of this pandemic, but we're now joined by someone who may be able to offer a little insight. Allison Kelly-Jones is a relationship expert and author of Measure Twice, Cut Once, Navigating Negativity in Toxic Relationships. Allison, thank you so much for being with us this morning. I want to know, how can you spot a red flag? Typically, they're not hard to find, but maybe sometimes. But how can you spot one before you get involved in a toxic relationship?
Well, thank you so much for having me. The first indication is just knowing who you are as a person and what your expectations are, because a lot of people can't slide by your radar and your instinct. Red flags are typically those things that just make you feel really uncomfortable in your gut. People who may move a little too fast, people who don't tell you very much information about their past history, things like that can be red flags for you.
All right, Allison. And how do people navigate romance during this pandemic? I know it must be hard this past year to date.
It has been difficult for people, but I think this has been also been a year to take the time for some introspection and to identify those relationships in the past that may not have worked well. Take that as a lesson for the relationships that you want in the future. And you can start by just looking at the end game. What do you want in those relationships? What are your expectations? What are your desires? And you have to be able to communicate that. It's very important that you first understand who you are, what your expectations are, before you can communicate that to a lover.
That is so, so key. And what about other relationships like those with our family members, our friends, coworkers? What advice do you have to make those more positive and more healthy?
Well, again, it starts with communication, but we have to hold ourselves as well as others accountable. In my book, I do talk about both sides of toxicity, because it takes two people in a relationship to either make the relationship work or not work. And so if you're going to nurture the relationship, particularly with family, you have to start by having honest dialogue. You have to put your cards on the table and start by using I language. It's very important that you speak to them about how you're feeling so that they can hopefully empathize with what's happening. And then go from there, trying to build a relationship by hopefully, if you have to create boundaries, create boundaries. But boundaries should not be punitive. They should be set in place so that should you choose to engage again, they work better for you so that you can build on the existing relationship.
And in your opinion, can a toxic relationship be repaired?
Absolutely. I think that too often in our microwave society, we tend to throw people away. And I think that each of us should give each other some grace. All of us need grace. And if we apply that type of feeling to each other globally, nationally, in our own homes. It starts in a very small setting and then it grows outward. But it can absolutely be repaired. But it starts with a conversation, honestly. It starts with identifying the behaviors that you're uncomfortable with. And you have to give a person the opportunity to course correct their behavior. Don't just throw them away. You may be able to pull them back into the circle.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Allison Kelly-Jones, for your expertise and your advice on this day of love. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great advice.
Thank you, Rachel. Have a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day.
Thank you.